Hello, and welcome to another episode of Starside Chat. I am one of your hosts, Aaron, and with me as always is Zach. How's it going, Zach?
Good. I don't want to put you on the spot right off the bat, but there is a list of the best-selling Nintendo Switch games, and I want to see if you can guess the top 10.
Let's see here. Definitely Breath of the Wild, I bet, is one of them.
Yep, that's on there. Let me see. That is number 4.
Super Smash Brothers?
Yep, that's number 3.
Mario Odyssey.
Yep, that's number 6.
Animal Crossing.
Yep, that's number 2.
What is number 1?
It's super obvious once you think of it.
What other first party? Mario, what's that called? Mario Racing? Mario Kart?
Yes, Mario Kart. That's the number 1. It's a big seller for some reason.
Makes
Still
sense.
going strong.
Let's see. What else has occurred?
Big series you're not thinking of, but once you get it, it'll knock 2 of them off there. One of Nintendo's biggest franchises. Going back to the old Game Boy days. There's even a TV show.
A TV show? Give me another hint.
There happens to be a collection aspect to it.
Oh, Pokemon.
Yes, Pokemon Sword and Shield is number 5, and then Pokemon Let's Go is 8.
So what do we have left?
Unless we've gone beyond 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No, yeah, there are 3 more on here that you will not think of.
Okay.
But one of them, actually, you can think of one more because you own it and you have played it, although it's not obvious that it would be a huge seller. It happens to have like its own peripheral.
Ring Fit?
Yes, that is number 10, actually, which surprised me when I saw this list. I was not expecting Ring Fit to make this. The other 2 that are on here that I don't think I would have gotten are Super Mario Party, which I would not have. I didn't think
Didn't that just come out?
I think there's a new one that's under a different title. I think this is the previous
you're right.
one.
All Stars just came out.
Yeah. I did not think Mario Party. Like I knew it sold pretty well, but I didn't think it sold that well. But I guess it does.
I didn't think so either.
And then number 9 on the list is Splatoon 2, which I guess I should have thought of, but I
almost guessed a Splatoon, but
yeah, it's tough to call on that.
I mean,
one,
it was part of that opening trailer for the Nintendo Switch. There was Breath of the Wild stuff, that weird basketball game that I don't know if it ever came out, and then that big Splatoon tournament at the end. Yeah,
I think it's a shame that Luigi's Mansion 3 didn't make the top 10, but
yeah,
I love that game. Anyway, the only reason why I thought it would be interesting to run down is because there was some news recently about how they were talking about a new Switch model, but it's something they know they're going to work on, and they know like the Switch is sort of about the midway point of its life cycle, somewhere in there, and I feel like Nintendo's like their history has been pretty consistently like every 5 to 6 years they'll put out like a new console, and the Switch is like getting right to that point.
It's true.
Although they said the only hint they would give was that they were working on something. They didn't really have anything to share, but 20XX is when it's coming. So it could be 2099, but you know, eventually there will be another Switch model, which makes me all the more likely to continue to pass on the OLED model just in case. But
I still believe that when Breath of the Wild 2, whatever it's going to be called, comes out, it will be part of the new Switch launch as well.
So you think they're just kind of trying to, I don't know, bury the rumors and keep people off guard so that they can really throw a big twist when they're like, hey, we got more news about Breath of the Wild, but also one more thing.
I could see them. I mean, my dream of dreams is that next E3 they're like, we got a big hardware announcement. They show off the Switch 2 or whatever it's called. And then they're like, and also we have this game that's going to be exclusive to the Switch 2. And then it's just Breath of the Wild 2. And it's like all crazy. And they can be like, oh yeah, the Switch 2 has like this much more processing power. So like, look at this thing that you can do in Zelda that you couldn't do on the Switch 1. It would be impossible on the first Switch to do this. But who knows? Maybe they will make it backwards compatible like they did with Breath of the Wild, where that was like playable on the Wii U for some reason.
Yeah, I feel like, and maybe this isn't like a Nintendo thing, but I feel like developers are getting a lot better at like scalability with games where, because like we're seeing, to talk about a game that has come out recently, like Forza Horizon 5 is out on like the last gen Xbox consoles. And there's like, aside from it not looking quite as nice as it would on like the latest Xbox console, like you can join each other's games and like still play everything, even if you're on like the last gen hardware. And so it's a little bit impressive that they're able to do all that. Like, and to not jump too far ahead, like Elden Ring is gonna also come out on last gen hardware. So like, it used to be a thing where you thought, man, it would be great if they could commit to like the next gen consoles, because you feel like they're going to have to scale back on some stuff to not leave out the last gen. But I kind of wonder now if that's really a thing. Like, if,
well, and especially because like at least PlayStation 5 games I know usually come with like two different modes. Even like they'll have regular mode and like performance mode.
Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like developers are getting a lot better at scalability, and so I wonder if Nintendo will be able to do a thing where they're like, instead of just like jumping forward to an entirely new Switch console like life cycle, if it's more like, this is just like an upgraded thing and you can choose to get it or not, but every game is going to still work on whatever Switch you own right now. So interesting to think about, but maybe we should jump into some news.
Yes, it was a couple weeks ago by now, but we definitely need to talk about it. The Uncharted movie released its first trailer. I'm very interested to hear your take on it. Tom, what's his name?
Tom Holland? Yeah.
Is Drake as a child. Or is he supposed to be playing like a 25-year-old? Or what age is he supposed to be?
I don't know. What age is he really?
Good question. I don't know. I mean, I'm so used to thinking of him as Spider-Man, who is in high school, and he has such a young appearance.
Yeah.
That I just assumed he was like playing like an 18-year-old or something in this Uncharted thing, but maybe they are trying to age him up and he's supposed to be in his 20s. He probably is actually in his 20s, but I have no idea.
I mean, when I heard the casting news that it was going to be Tom Holland, I was like, I don't think I like that. And maybe some of it is that sort of boyishness that you think of, because you think of him as Spider-Man in the Spider-Man movies, and he's really playing a teenager. And maybe that's just because he's good at playing that character and like he's just a good actor, and maybe he will like play up to this role. I will say he looked better as Nathan Drake than I thought he would. But I also don't think he's going to sound, and I wonder if he will sort of carry the same, if he'll pull the character off the way we want. I don't know.
Yeah, like it's such a weird choice for them to say like, let's start it out when he's super young and like Sully is just like a guy in his 40s or whatever.
Yeah, I think that was a thing that put me off maybe even a little bit more than the Tom Holland casting, because Sully is supposed to be like an older guy, and they just like cast Mark Wahlberg, and it was like, he's not old.
It's so weird. Like, I don't know. I guess I'll reserve judgment, but I don't know that this is something I'm going to be rushing out to see.
Yeah, I feel like the casting with this is maybe a less egregious version of like the Nintendo Mario Brothers movie casting, where it's just like, okay, these guys are big names. We see them in the Marvel stuff, so we should get some of those guys.
Did you see that Chris Pratt is also playing Garfield now?
Is he really?
That's true. There's going to be a new Garfield movie, and Chris Pratt is voicing him.
Wow. Why?
I don't know.
Does he?
There was something else. Man, what was it? It was something really funny. I'm not gonna remember. Some like studio head came out of like, I think like a game development team or something, and there's a movie being developed based on their property, and he came out saying like, Chris Pratt is not our character, so don't worry.
It's sad that that's where we're at. I mean, does he have like a great talent for doing different voices? Because he does not strike me as the type of person that would play either Garfield or Mario.
No, like he has had such a weird transition from. Well, I've been seeing a lot about it on the internet about how like he used to be like the cool kind of schlubby guy who you're like, oh man, this guy's doing really good. I'm glad for him. To now he's just this like jacked weirdo who is like always making these weird posts on Instagram about how his wife's heart is pure and belongs only to him.
What?
Yeah, it's weird.
I don't know, man. I feel like they can stop like focusing on, okay, the Marvel movies are big. We're just going to pick somebody from that pool of actors. Like you can find somebody else.
Other people exist besides.
Yeah, there are other actors.
I mean, we're getting to the point where every actor has been in a Marvel movie, but
yeah, that's fair.
I don't know. I have not. You know what's interesting is I saw every Marvel movie up until Endgame. No, up until Spider-Man No Way or Far From Home, which was also that was like right after Endgame, and then obviously the pandemic started and Black Widow got delayed forever, and then it was on Disney Plus, so I went ahead and watched it, and it was not super great. But Shang-Chi I was really looking forward to, and I just never got around to seeing it in theaters, and I believe it's coming to Disney Plus for free next week, so I could finally get to see Shang-Chi.
Yeah, I would watch that movie, but I'm not like dying to see it.
Yeah, that's why I waited until...
I think it's cool that Tony Leung is getting like his sort of big shot here in the West, because he's like a huge Hong Kong actor that's been in a ton of movies that I've loved over the years. He's worked with Wong Kar-wai a lot, and he's one of my favorite directors. So like to kind of see him pop up in a Western movie is cool. But I think that story of him making a big appearance in a big like Western blockbuster is more interesting to me than the movie itself. But I guess we'll see.
And then the Eternals came out this past week, and I have heard it's... actually, I don't know what I've heard about it. All I've heard is that the ending credit scene is really crazy, but I don't know anything about it.
To jump back to Uncharted real quick, the top comment on this trailer that I was watching on YouTube while we were talking about it is, why does Mark Wahlberg play Sully? He looks more like Nathan Drake than Tom Holland does. I was like, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Did you watch that proof of concept short that they put out forever ago where Nathan Fillion was playing Nathan Drake?
Yeah, that seemed like the obvious choice.
Yeah, that was perfect. That should have been a movie because it like was cast perfectly. It had great action.
The style of it was very like pulled from the game as well.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that didn't get any traction, I guess, but that would have been the perfect way to do it.
Yeah, I think that's the direction they should have gone with it. Now, to be fair, there is a scene in the trailer where Tom Holland as Nathan Drake is like falling out of the plane, and there's like a bunch of cargo things. I was like, that feels like a big blockbuster moment from one of the games. So I can see where they're going with that, but I still think Nathan Fillion would have made the most sense to cast.
Especially right now, because for a while he was getting a little bit
chubby.
I mean, when he had that castle show, pretty much he just had to walk around in an overcoat.
Yeah.
But he got that new show on like Fox or ABC or wherever it is,
policeman.
where he's like a cop.
Yeah. And he's gotten in great shape now. Yeah, he's
in perfect shape for this.
Yeah, and I feel like he's not too old, but he's also getting to the point where you could make like a trilogy of these movies with him and wrap it 100%. Up perfectly the way the game series did.
Yeah, where he like retires to a beach or whatever.
Yeah, I feel like they are right about the perfect time for that, with where Nathan Fillion is at. So
a missed opportunity.
It is a missed opportunity. But speaking of trailers, a new trailer is out. Well, it's not really new. This is also a couple of weeks old now. But Concerned Ape, I don't remember his name, the one-man development team behind Stardew Valley, put a trailer out for a new game he's working on called Haunted Chocolatier. And I'm excited to get your thoughts on it.
I'm super into this. I have heard that it is going to be more combat focused, which was one of my favorite parts of Stardew Valley. I mean, I enjoyed the farming or whatever, but I have, with a couple different people, played the co-op of Stardew Valley. And both times I played it, they would focus on the farming, and I would just every day be free to go to the mines and just get deeper and deeper into the mines, because I really enjoyed the combat in that game.
I was going to say...
And just like collecting metal.
That was one of my favorite aspects of Stardew Valley as well, was like going to the mine. But I always like felt bad about doing it because I was then neglecting everything else that I was supposed to be doing with the farming. And I was
like, wait for a rain day.
Yeah, I was like, I really just want to do more of the going down more levels in the mine. But so yeah, to have a game that focuses a little bit more on that type of thing sounds great to me.
It looks great. There's not at all any kind of release date, because who knows? But I have very high hopes for this, and I think it's going to do really well. And I think that it probably will also, it'll mirror a lot of things from Stardew Valley, where like it'll have co-op, and he probably will support it for years and years to come, which is super exciting.
Yeah, Stardew Valley got a lot of support, a lot of DLC, and it just like appeared on every single possible platform you can play games on, except for Stadia, I guess. But the art style looks exactly like Stardew Valley, but with maybe a little bit more of a fantasy setting.
Yeah, I am still unsure. I can't tell. Like you, I believe, inherit like a mansion that is also a factory for chocolate, and then it seems like maybe there's a magic door in that mansion that you jump into to go and fight monsters and collect ingredients for your chocolate. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah,
but I think the combat's going to be a little more involved. He released a couple other clips of like extra combat things where you can like stun enemies and whatnot. But I'm very excited for this. This is definitely going to be like one of my most anticipated games. I have no idea what I'm going to play it on. Probably Switch, but I have no idea.
Yeah, and it looks like there's a town like outside of the mansion as well, so you're not stuck just in the mansion. Mm-hmm. And you can run around and like talk to all the different people and sort of
I'm sure there's going to be like relationship pop, because it even shows you giving like presents to people, just like you did in Stardew Valley.
Yeah. So probably some similar concepts going on in this game, but I don't know. I'm excited for it. I liked the music a lot in Stardew Valley, and the music in this trailer for Haunted Chocolatier is pretty great. So I'm into that. Speaking of games that are coming up eventually, I guess this one's coming up. We do know when this one is. GTA Trilogy is coming this month. Are you excited at all about this? You think you'll go back and try out some of these?
I don't know. I played a lot of Vice City and a lot of San Andreas as a child. When I got GTA 3, I didn't have a memory card, and I didn't understand or was able to articulate that I needed a memory card to my family. So I would always start GTA 3 from the first part. And one time I played for like 6 hours, and I got to the third island, and it was like a real crazy marathon session. I got a plane. But I think I probably have some nostalgia for it. I'll be interested to watch other people play it, and if it's a really good port, because they did like update the graphics and everything. It's in like Unreal Engine. I don't know. I might pick this up. Have they said how much it's going to be? Like, is it a $60 thing, or is it less? Because it is also on Switch.
I don't know, actually. And yeah, the fact that this is coming to Switch was the thing that was, I thought, really exciting.
Yeah.
Not that I don't like the other platforms, but just like when they bring a game to Switch, it's always pretty exciting.
Especially something like this. Like, I don't play a ton of... trying to think of like other interesting... There's not really a GTA clone on Switch right now, is there?
No, but there are like clones of sort of the old like top-down GTAs. Like there was that Shakedown Hawaii game.
Yes, yeah.
I played that game and liked it a lot, but there's nothing more in the more modern style of GTA, I don't think.
I'm interested in this, though. I might pick this up, especially because my girlfriend never played the original GTAs, so she might be interested in it as well. But do you think you're gonna? Is this a day one purchase for you?
I probably will pick this up. Because I never played any of these games. I didn't.
Really, San Andreas is an amazing game.
Yeah, and I've heard that all three of these are excellent. And GTA 4 was my first Grand Theft Auto game. Like my brother had a Dreamcast and played like GTA. Was it 1 or 2? On there, and I thought it was a cool game, and I used to mess around a little bit with that, but I never played 3 or Vice City or San Andreas, but I remember watching him play it because I don't think these ever came to GameCube.
No, I don't believe so.
And that was my like console of choice during that particular era, and so I never had an opportunity to play them, and so I just kind of missed out on them, but I'm curious to check them out, especially in the context of like modern GTA, because like again, I've played GTA 4 and 5 and like the Red Dead Redemption game, so like to go back and try out these older ones, it'll be something completely new for me. And I know, like, isn't Vice City the one that's like the 80s? Which is
it's
like
got a great soundtrack.
Yeah, which is like my
that was
thing.
The one I would usually just like switch, like every GTA game I've ever played, I've usually just found like the random jazz channel, but like every radio channel in Vice City was just like so listenable. I would never have to change the channel because something would always be on. That was great.
Yeah, so I think I will pick this up, and that will probably be the first one I jump into.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm kind of excited to check it out, but you know me, I've got a huge backlog as it is. It'll be
as do I.
It'll be tough to go play these games from however many years ago when there's like a bunch of other stuff I'm already in the middle of. But I do think I'll pick it up to have it, and I probably will try to put some time into it, and it'll be one of those things that I can jump back into once I finish some more recent stuff. But you played Death's Door, correct?
I played and beat Death's Door.
What did you think of that game?
I liked it a lot. The music is very, very good. The controls were also pretty solid. The boss fights were a little frustrating, especially the final boss fight was a real challenge for me that I took like a week, like every couple of days during that week, I would just try to log on again and try to do that boss fight. I just could not do it. I watched like a guide on how to do it, and it did not really help. And it really was just playing it over and over again until I got good at it. But I really, really liked it. The story was engaging. It was nice and short also. Yeah, it was probably one of the better games I played this year.
We talked about this before. I started it, then I went on vacation and just got sidetracked and never got back to it. But it is coming to Switch and PlayStation later this month. Is it something I should go back and check out, you think?
Yeah, I would say so. It is pretty fun. Something that doesn't really telegraph secrets well, I feel like. It is very much like a Zelda game where you get different items, and these items let you they work in combat, but they also let you progress to different areas. And there are like 3 other weapons you can get, and I didn't even know that even 2 of them existed. And I had to like look it up before I went to the final boss just to like check them out. And I feel like if those weapons had been more in the forefront, like I got them as rewards for defeating bosses or something, I would have had a slightly better experience. But that's really my only gripe with the game is like it kind of hides those from you. Like there was one weapon I didn't even get that I could probably have gotten, but I would have to look up a guide on how to get it. But yeah, I would say it was definitely worth your time. Especially on Switch, or if you already have it on PC, just play it on PC. But I would definitely complete it.
That was the thing I was thinking, because I don't know which run of the Steam Deck that I'm in. If I will get the first run, or I have to wait until I think it's like January is when the next run of consoles go out or handhelds go out. But I was like, Death's Door seems like maybe the perfect game to like try to pick up once I get my Steam Deck.
That would be a great one to do.
So I think I might wait until that shows up and then try to jump back into that game. But now we come to the big news, the big thing, the Elden Ring gameplay preview. There was like a 20-minute video that's up now that you can watch of just sort of showing off some of the gameplay from Elden Ring. What did you think of this?
It seems like they took a lot of inspiration from Breath of the Wild.
Yeah? They've gone like full open world here, right?
It seems like it's full open world. There's like you can like summon your horse and go around. Your horse can like climb mountains, it seems like. There's a lot more. I have not ever played a Soulsborne type of game. I did watch my brother play a good amount of Bloodborne, but I never myself have played a Soulsborne game.
Yeah.
But it seems like there's a much more focus on magic than there was in any of the Dark Souls or even like Sekiro.
Yeah, I was gonna say there were parts of this trailer that made me think of Skyrim. And some of it was that magic use, and some of it was just like the open world nature of it and the fact that like a big dragon lands and you are fighting it. So some of that was reminding me of Skyrim, but obviously in the Soulsborne style.
What did you think about it?
I thought it looked cool. I don't know. I like you, I haven't really done much or played much of the Soulsborne games. I did start Bloodborne once or twice because it was like a PlayStation Plus title there at one point, so I added it to my library. But I was not in the headspace to get into that game at the time, so I did not make it terribly far into it. But I don't know. This one seems kind of appealing to me, and I keep wondering when it's gonna click with me, like when it'll be the right time to like jump into one of these and it'll finally click, and it might be this one.
It definitely was impressive. Like I've always thought that Souls games have a very unique and interesting art style, especially their like creature design. It's very cool and you don't really see it anywhere else, but this is the first one where the actual like gameplay mechanics were something that, because generally, you know, you always hear that, oh, Dark Souls is so hard, and I believe I watched my brother play the beginning of Dark Souls 3, I want to say, and that does begin with a pretty hard boss fight where it's just like you really gotta know what you're doing, and that's the first thing you're doing. So I don't know. I wonder what the like difficulty ramp up is going to be with this. I wonder a lot of things. It also is interesting that, I mean, Dark Souls is always known for, and those type of games are known for, you can invite your friend, not even your friends, just random people in to help you, which is something I'm also, I don't know. I've not played a lot of games except for, I guess, that what was that PlayStation game that was like kind of an art piece where people would help you get to like that light? You were in the desert.
Journey?
I'm talking about Journey. Yes, I played Journey, and that was very fun. And you're like helped by other random people. That's like my only experience with that type of gameplay where it's like integrated into the gameplay. But
yeah,
I think this might be something I check out as well. I'm not sure. When is it coming out? Did they say February?
Yeah, February something. February is a stacked month for game releases. February 25th is what it is. So it's gonna be hitting right around the time like a bunch of other things come out. Like I think, don't they? Isn't Horizon Forbidden West right around that time?
I believe it got delayed.
Oh, did it?
I think so. Delayed until whenever Breath of the Wild 2 comes out.
Man, so many delays. But yeah, the open world nature of this I thought was cool, and like when they show the map, like that was also really cool how that was designed. Yeah. So I think I might pick this up and try to make this like my first Soulsborne game that I try to get through.
I agree with you. I think I might pick it up as well.
But now I want you to tell me about the Metaverse.
Everybody wants the Metaverse, but it's sort of happening. For those who don't know, the Metaverse is like, virtual world, whatever, Snow Crash, Neuromancer, things like that. Facebook is a bad company. We can all agree.
Meta. Don't you mean meta?
Yes. So Mark Zuckerberg came out and was like, hey, we're rebranding. We're no longer Facebook. We're Meta. And our goal, our main deal is the Metaverse. We're making the Metaverse now. So get on board. I'm not as interested in what he had to say about it, but John Carmac, who I believe still works for Oculus, even though Oculus is basically not a thing anymore. And John Carmac, he was, at Oculus, and he was part of the acquisition from Facebook. And I believe he has transitioned off of VR stuff. He was heavily into, or he was like instrumental in creating that Gear VR and working with like Samsung phones. But he sort of bounced off of that, and now I believe in his, he's devoting most of his time to creating some sort of general artificial intelligence. But he is still involved in VR. And an interesting thing that would always happen every year at Oculus Connect, which is not, I don't think is going to exist anymore in the way that it did, because Oculus is not a thing anymore, would be that John Carmack would give just like an hour-long speech about just random stuff. And he's always like, he tells it like it is. He's very intelligent. And then also, people would just find him walking around at Oculus Connect, and he would hold court with these like hallway sessions where developers were just asking him questions, and he was giving, and you could find recordings of those, his hallway talks. But he made a post that was basically like, well, Mark Zuckerberg said we're making the Metaverse, and so I guess it's happening. But, I believe that if you go out to make the Metaverse, like if you set out to make a Metaverse, it's not going to make the Metaverse. You can't be trying to make a Metaverse for a lot of reasons. It's a very interesting article that he wrote. You should definitely check it out if you're interested in this type of stuff. But he put out a lot of really good points, and whatever Facebook is doing is going to coalesce into something. I don't know if it is going to be the Metaverse that we all wanted. I think he is correct that if you set out to make a Metaverse, you are going to fail. It's going to be something that happens organically and connects into a lot of different experiences and ways of interacting with things. So, I don't know. I guess I just wanted to point out that the Metaverse is something that is on the horizon, I guess, but not necessarily. Like, if you hear buzzwords like, oh, Facebook is making the Metaverse, they're not. They're making a Metaverse. Yeah. And it's going to be the first iteration, and it's probably not even going to be, like, the ideal is to not be Facebook related at all. Right. And actually, they talked about how the next generation of whatever their VR headset is not going to require a Facebook login, which is great, and it's something that definitely made me pause about buying a Quest 2, because I don't want to have to get, like, a Facebook account and get all, like, logged in with that and have them have my information. But I don't know. VR is something I'm pretty passionate about that has kind of fallen off in recent years because there's been steady development, but nothing too exciting. I am waiting for that Metaverse. That's what I really want. But I don't know that we're there yet. But the declaration by this company that they are trying to create one is somewhat exciting, but also I'm somewhat apprehensive about it.
Yeah, I think I speak for a lot of people in saying that I think the Metaverse is a really cool idea. I just don't want Facebook's Metaverse.
Exactly. And, like, what Carmack was saying is, like, it's going to come from something that does already exist, like Minecraft or Roblox, especially, where a bunch of people are plugged into that and are creating their own content and are learning how to code within that universe. And like whatever the persistent world ends up being, it's going to have to be hosted in some sort of like non-centralized way that is not run by one company. So I guess we'll see what happens. But VR, I think, is at a really interesting place, and in the next couple of years, we'll probably see a very accessible headset that'll be more open source. Like Valve will probably put something out that won't be as super expensive, that will be able to plug into some form of metaverse, not necessarily Facebook's, and that's going to be a point where everyone will really start to jump on. But just something to think about. VR news. Maybe we'll have a VR news segment when it gets more relevant.
Yeah, it's coming in the nebulous future. So
yeah.
So once there's more to talk about there, we can always come back to it. But did you get a chance to watch any of that PlayStation State of Play from like a week ago or so?
Yeah, I did not super.
There was not much
gel with me.
There was not
really.
much to it. That got me excited anyway.
Yeah.
I did think Star Ocean looked kind of cool. I've not played the Star Ocean games in the past.
Nor have I.
So I don't really know what to expect from that. But kind of cool that like a long running series like that is, still going. And the Little Devil Inside game looked maybe like the coolest thing that they had.
Yeah, I'm still not clear on what that game
It's super unclear because like the first like couple of minutes of that trailer make you think the game is going to be one thing, and then like the next several minutes after that are like, oh, this is a completely different thing than I thought it was going to be. And I don't know what to make of it. But it's a really interesting art style. There seems to be like several different like top-down views of the world, and like the further out you get, the more it becomes like those little Russian dolls that are like one inside the other. I forget the name. Or
little egg dolls,
yeah.
Babushka dolls, maybe.
I don't know. But yeah, the art style of it was really cool, and I'm curious as to what the gameplay actually is and like what's going on in this world. But this is one of those games that might be fun to check out, but is not like the kind of thing that I'm like hotly anticipating by any means.
I agree.
But I think it's time to return to Metroid Dread, because since we last talked, I have finished Metroid Dread, and I have basically done a 180 on it from our last conversation. So in our last podcast, we kind of talked like initial impressions, because neither of us had finished it, and I had only put in like a couple hours to that point. And I was a little bit frustrated in the early going, but I feel like I was like, okay, I need to sit down and actually put some time into this and sort of stop fighting. I think you gave me a tip of like, just gotta go with the flow of the game, and if you like happen upon like a transport or something to the next area, just take it and just go where the game wants you to go. I found it a little bit frustrating in the early going that it was like sort of forcing me down more linear pathways when I wanted to like more freely explore. But once I kind of got past that and just kind of got on board with, just letting it, following the game's cue and where it wanted me to go, everything just like really clicked, and I started like really getting into it, and I started seeing like how like smartly designed it is to kind of like teach you, especially for me as someone who's not really played the Metroid games before, to like start seeing, okay, this wall looks like a normal wall, but if you like shoot this part of it with this type of like fire, you will break it open and you can go through it. And that was stuff that like was really throwing me off before. Like I was not seeing those pathways, but eventually I got to a point where I really didn't even need a walkthrough. To like in the first hour or so, I was like, I'm stuck, I don't know where to go, let me check this walkthrough. And I would be like, okay, there's this wall over here that I didn't even think to shoot at, that like if you shoot it, it breaks open apart and you can slide under it. By like a couple hours into the game, I was like, I was running around like a crazy person, shooting every fire mode at every wall, ceiling, and floor panel, and I was like figuring it out that way. And then it started making me feel smarter, which is something that is appealing, but also like the power fantasy of the game, of like all the upgrades you're getting throughout the game. Like you start out with like a pea shooter, and you can only jump once, and you move really slowly in water. But by the end, you're just like zipping around. You can fly, basically. You can jump nonstop, and you're like, you have all this crazy firepower at your disposal. And it's just like, it's a very, very satisfying game. It's challenging at parts, but it was also very, very satisfying.
It ramps up so nicely. And each boss fight is so well designed where you play it one time, and then as you're playing it, you realize what the mechanic is, and maybe you die like 2 more times, but every time you die, you've progressed to a new part and you learned a little more, and you can hammer it out without having to look at a guide, I found.
Yeah.
And it was super satisfying.
Yeah, especially the final boss fight. The first time I encountered him, I died really quickly. I was like, man, I will never get through this. This is just like, maybe this is where the road ends, because this guy, like, I don't even know what's going on. And eventually you like start to figure out what his attacks are and what the cues are, and when your sort of windows of opportunity to attack him are. And eventually you'll get to the second phase, and you're like, oh man, this second phase is like impossible. There's no way to do this. And but by the time you get to the third phase, like the first phase and the second phase become super simple. Like you've got the mechanics down so well by that point, because you've tried it so many times, that by the time you get to the third phase, like the first phase and second phase go super quick. And it's just like that well designed, where it's challenging, but you learn, and it's sort of like, it sounds dumb, but you're like leveling yourself up, basically.
Yeah, that is a really good way to think about it.
Yeah, to get through it. And so, yeah, I just really like the design of the world and all the different boss encounters, and I thought it was great.
I agree. I have not beat the final boss yet. I kind of like, I did it like 2 times, and I just like could not land a hit on him because I was not getting it for some reason. I've stepped away from it briefly, but I think all I have to do really is beat that final boss and then watch a cutscene, and then I'll be done with it.
Yeah, that is basically all you've got left. I won't say anything else about it, but I don't know about you, but I struggled with like the double jump, and like the non-stop jump that you can do, because
you can't just go straight up. You have to go to the side.
Yeah,
as well.
It's not like a normal double jump in a game where you just like tap the button twice. It's like there's a timing element to it, and also you have to be giving it like some sort of directional input at the same time. And so for whatever reason, I really struggled with that. And so that was part of the problem, because there's a part in the second phase of that fight where, I don't know if you've gotten this far, or if this is a minor spoiler for like the second phase of the fight, but like you kind of have to use the jump effectively in order to like not die. And I knew what I was supposed to do. I figured it out by accident because I dashed at one point. I was like, oh, I see. I'm supposed to be like jumping around in a circle around him at this point. And I knew what I was supposed to do, but I couldn't do it because I could not get the jump to work. And then eventually, randomly, it just started working. I don't know if I was suddenly doing it right or what, but I found that frustrating. And the other frustrating thing about the game that's a minor complaint was it seemed like they tacked on a third one of those like elite troopers or whatever they're called. You know, those like spear and shield guys.
Yeah. Like, that you have to like, and then they turn into black goo.
Yeah. Like, you talk to Adam and he's like, okay, the only thing that's left now is just to face Ravenbeak, face the final boss, and let's get through this. And I was like, all right, I'm ready to go. And then randomly, out of nowhere, some random other mini boss fight happens, and you're like, why is this happening? Like, I've already beat 2 of these guys. Why is this happening? So that felt tacked on, and like it was sort of stopping the flow of the game a little bit for me. But also, it's not a super easy fight either. Like, I had struggled with that fight a little bit. So the fact that
I agree, yeah,
that on top of the fact that was a difficult fight, I was also the whole time thinking, why am I even doing this? Shouldn't I be fighting the final boss? That made that particular part of the game pretty frustrating for me. But I got past it, and then it was final boss time. And it's one of those games that, because it is challenging, like, you feel really rewarded for completing it. So, like, the highs are very high with that game. So. Plus, like, I've heard so many people are like playing it 2, 3, 4 times, where like they will finish it and immediately go back through it again. And like, once you kind of like know where you're supposed to be going and what you're supposed to be doing, and you kind of know the patterns of the boss fights, like, you can knock Metroid Dread out in like 3-4 hours if you're.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see this at an SGDQ or an AGDQ.
Yeah, it'll be one of those games that'll be fun to watch for speedrunners. So you think you'll get back to it? You think you'll?
Yeah, I might even do it today. But I just, I don't know. A little bit is like, I'm a little intimidated by it because I know all I have left is this super hard boss fight, and then I'm just done with the game, and I don't want the game to be over.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that's kind of like holding me off on it, but I will eventually do it. I am basically at the end of that other game. What's that other game I was? Eastward.
Oh yeah.
Which I have also heard is just like a series of boss fights. One of my other friends was playing it, and we were sort of playing it at the same time, and he was like, yeah, the last part is basically just like a series of boss fights. And so I'm not super excited to jump back into that either, but I would like to conclude both of these stories. So I probably will hopefully do that in the next couple of days.
Yeah, knock 2 games off the checklist, you free yourself up for something completely new.
True.
Well, after I finished Metroid Dread, I started playing Lost in Random, and I have completed that game as well.
Wow. You're knocking them out.
Over Halloween. I think Halloween I wrapped up Lost in Random. That's when
That's good, because it's supposed to be like a spooky game.
Yeah, it's kind of like that Tim Burton Halloween style, which is like right up my alley. And so I was playing it in the lead up to Halloween, and then finished it on the day of Halloween. And it's got that Tim Burton art style, and that's what really appealed to me at first, and why I wanted to play it. But yeah, you play Even, and she has a sister named Odd, and it's an interesting world where the queen will come out, and once like a child has reached the age of 12, she'll like roll this dice that she has, and that will determine like what's to become of that child or whatever. So that happens to Odd, and she takes her away. And so you playing as Even, it's you kind of go on this adventure to try to get her back, basically. And you end up stopping at one point fairly early on in this random field of like lost, like, I don't know, it's a field that has been like lost to time, basically. Nobody knows where it is. She just happens to stumble upon it and finds a dice there that she names Dicey, and they kind of become friends and like traveling partners. And the whole idea of it is that it's like the world is all about random rules, and like rolls of dice, and like that determining how things play out. And like the queen was the only one previously that had a dice, so she was the one that got to sort of lay down the law and the rules, because she would roll her dice and that would make determinations. But nobody else had one, because again, that field of dice was sort of lost to time, sort of. And so you showing up with a dice makes you kind of like a really sort of powerful person in the world. You're fighting the queen's minions, which are all these sort of Tim Burton-esque like robot creatures, basically. And the character of Even doesn't have any items, like doesn't have any weapons or anything like that. She can dodge, and she has a slingshot. And the slingshot doesn't actually do damage to the enemies. You just like use it to knock off these crystals, And then Dicey goes and collects the crystals, and that will unlock, I guess is maybe the only word I can think of, but unlocks cards that you have in your deck. So it's interesting because it's like a third-person hack and slash action game, but it's using like sort of a deck builder like card system. Where you will, once you get like, I think it's a handful of cards and they call that a full hand, you then will grab Dicey and throw him, and whatever number roll he lands on, like that's how many cards you can play. And so say you roll a 3, then like each card also has a value. So like, okay, I can use this sword card for 1. And so now she'll have a sword that's like, it's a little like in Skyrim when you use conjuration to conjure like a magic sword. It's a little like that. And then this bow card costs 2, so I'll use that, and now I'll have a bow and a sword. So yeah, the hack and slash combat is pretty simplistic, but it's also like, I don't know, it's not bad, I would say. But I think it's an interesting concept that I would be curious to see what this developer did with like another game like this. And I like, it was tough in parts, but mainly because they some parts they'll throw a lot of characters or a lot of enemies at you, until I discovered that the best way to deal with that is you can get pretty good at like noticing the tell, because there's always like a little bit of like a almost like it's not like this, but it's almost like where in Metal Gear where an enemy, when they notice you, they get like the exclamation point above their head. So you know when somebody's going to attack you. And so you can then time your dodge maneuver. And if you time it when somebody's about to attack you, you do what's called a blink step. And so that you can basically phase through an enemy, and that will automatically knock off those crystals and sort of collect them at the same time. And so that becomes like the most efficient method of like getting your cards, and also like escaping damage instead of like standing there and trying to like aim your slingshot. And so like once I sort of mastered that, like combat became fairly easy. There are some enemies that they kind of switch it up with later on in the game that have this sort of electrified field around them, so you can't phase through them, and you can't even like melee them with a sword either, so you kind of have to use bombs or like a bow and arrow as like ranged attacks. And so I would say the game kind of reminds me of like an older, like a past generation action game, almost like, you know how in Zelda you have like a sword, a shield, and bombs? You're kind of dealing with a lot of that type of stuff. So it almost in some ways reminded me of that style of
interesting
sort of hack and slash combat. But yeah, no, I actually really enjoyed it. I thought the writing was pretty good. Like in parts it's kind of cheesy, but it's also like pretty funny at times. Like one of the bosses that you face is like this guy that really wants to rhyme. He likes rhyming, and so, but he's like really bad at it. So he'll like say something that's like leading up to a rhyme, and then he won't be able to think of the last word that's like the rhyming word. And so some of that writing is pretty funny and clever, and then like the voice acting is like, most of it's pretty good. It's like animated movie quality voice acting. So I think it is a little game that kind of flew under the radar and maybe deserves a little bit more credit than it's gotten, but I liked it quite a bit.
What was the length? How long did it take you to beat?
That's a good question. It was probably in the like 12 to 15 hour range.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and you go to like different areas. Like one of the areas is like like I think they called it Two Town, where there's like a town that's on ground level that you're walking on, and you talk to the mayor there, and he's all upset because there's like a different mayor that's like his counterpart that's basically a part of him. that has like expanded and sort of grown out of him and is it's like there's a town above as well, so it kind of looks like that scene in Inception where the town is like, or the city is like rolling over them. So it looks kind of like that. So they do some like really interesting things with like the locations that you go to as well. So yeah, I would recommend that. Then the other game I played that I didn't know if I would play this, but I really wanted to, is Cruis'n Blast. So between Metroid Dread, Lost in Random, and Cruis'n Blast, I've spent a lot of time with my Switch recently. But we don't talk about racing games a lot on this show because we don't play a lot of them. Like you and I are not huge on these games, but when I was a kid, I played a lot of like Cruis'n World on the N64. It was sort of a big part of my childhood. And so the fact that there is a new one of those games in 2021, when I thought the series was like long dead, is pretty amazing to me. So I kind of had to pick it up and had to try it out, and it's a lot of fun. It's very fast paced. You do have some like modern mechanics, like there's a drift and there's a lot of jumps. It's very over the top. Like you can unlock a bunch of different cars, which I've been working on. Like the Cruis'n World had like a 3-wheeled truck and like a double-decker bus and like some weird cars like that in there. But Cruis'n Blast is like way over the top from that. I'm looking at footage of it right now and it seems insane. Yeah. Like your cars do flips. Yeah, your cars do flips. You do barrel rolls. You do backflips. And it's all out insanity. Like you can unlock a shark to race as. You can unlock a unicorn, an alien spaceship. There's an attack helicopter. There's just like all kinds of crazy vehicles that you can get in addition to like normal cars. And the racing is so arcadey that it's the only kind of racing that I like. It's why I can play Mario Kart and I can play a game like this, but I get bored to tears with like the super simulation heavy like racing games. Yeah, like I just have no desire to play them. So the fact that they finally made one that's that arcadey, like you can't really crash out, you can't be going in reverse or going the wrong way. So it's just all downhill. It's all fast at the same time. So what do the keys do? The keys help you unlock more vehicles. So there are a lot of vehicles that you can unlock just by like sort of playing through the game, and then you pay with cash that you've gotten from completing races, or you can find cash pickups in the actual races themselves. And you use those to buy and unlock cars, or there are keys, and keys will also unlock the ability to purchase other cars in the game with either cash or with keys. And so it's kind of like every race in the game has like 3 sort of hidden keys to find through the race. And so you'll kind of replay races until you like figure out where they are and how to pick them up. So that's been fun. This looks very fun. It is. If you played arcade racing games on the N64 at all, I mean, my favorite racing game of all time is from the N64. It was Beetle Adventure Racing. Yeah, I played that at a friend's house. A friend of mine had that when I was growing up, and that was a fun game. So if you like, I loved it because you had the cool shortcuts you could do, and just similarly, you could unlock like an alien car that was very fast. It was very fun. Yeah, it's exactly that style. Like it's a throwback to those 90s like arcade racers on the N64. That seems great. I highly recommend checking this game out. It's a lot of fun. So you can have your Forza Horizon 5s. I'm playing Cruis'n Blast. And then the other game I did start recently is Tales of Arise. This was one of those other backlog games that like everything came out in September, and I'm just trying to get caught up on stuff. I'm playing it on PS5, and I'm really enjoying it, actually. It's a Japanese RPG that very often makes me think of sort of a mixture of Ys 9, which is another JRPG that I was playing earlier this year, and Final Fantasy VII Remake a little bit. In fact, like, you remember in Final Fantasy VII Remake, when you are leveling up your characters and like getting abilities or whatever, you kind of go into this weird plane of existence, and there's these like blobs that each have like a different node that you spend your points on to like get an ability. Tales of Arise basically has the exact same like upgrade system where there's like these different nodes around, and so you're sort of picking and choosing which upgrades you want. And similarly to both Ys 9 and Final Fantasy VII Remake, you can like swap characters mid-battle. So if you want to play like more of the ranged character, you can do that. Or if you want to play the more melee-focused character, you can do that. And I just added sort of a mage-like character to my party. And so I'm getting to know that character and some of their abilities. So it's been fun. I'm sure I'm still pretty early on, so I don't know too much about where the story's going. But so far, I've been enjoying the characters and the storytelling, so I'm curious to see where it's going. It seems like there are like a handful of different areas, and each of them have like some lord that you're trying to take down. And I've completed one of those boss fights, and it was pretty crazy. It like got really cool, so I'm curious to see what else the game has in store. But that's all I've been playing. What about you?
Like I sort of bounced off of Metroid Dread and Eastward, and those are pretty much the only two that I was checking out. I have not really been playing much. I think I'm in sort of a holding pattern for whatever reason, for like something new to catch my eye. I did download the new Animal Crossing DLC, and I think my girlfriend and I are going to check that out tonight. But yeah, right now I have just like the final boss of Metroid Dread looming over me, and also all of the Eastward stuff that I have to do, because I am in the final part. I just have to beat like 5 bosses, I think, and then I'll be done. But I have been watching some movies.
Okay.
I watched Free Guy. It was enjoyable. We talked a little bit about it before we started recording. I think I would recommend it when it's free, like when it's on Netflix or HBO Max or wherever it comes to. I rented it for like $4 on Google Play, and I mean I enjoyed it. It had some like good tongue-in-cheek stuff about video game stuff, and Joe Keery, I think is his name, Steve from Stranger Things, is one of the main characters, and he's great. Ryan Reynolds is fine. He is. I said before we started recording, he's a little bit of a caricature of himself now, but he's still a cool guy. You can tell he's very, excited to be in this, but. Yeah, there's like a whole segment where he uses a bunch of iconic video game weapons, which is cool. It ends very happily, which I always like in a movie. But solid. I would say like a B+ movie maybe. Yeah, wait until it's like on a streaming service though. But I've wanted to watch Dune, but I just have not gotten around to it. I could watch it at any time. I could be watching it right now if I wanted to by just, loading it up on HBO Max. But
and you should.
You watched it, and I'm eager to hear what you think of it.
I liked it quite a bit, actually. I don't know. I really like Denis Villeneuve. I think that's how you say his name. I really like his movies and his style. And I watched the old Dune like a long time ago, and it was not a good movie. But this one, somehow they do basically all the same things, but it's like actually good, which is crazy. But no, I don't even know how to say it. Like, it's it's very good. I don't want to spoil things because I know you're gonna watch it soon. I will say I think it's very cool. Just the concept of the the movie being out on HBO Max, because I was thinking about it the other day, and I was like, okay, well, if I had gone to see this in the theater and it was only out in theater, well, that's it. I'd have to buy another ticket, go back and sit in the theater if I wanted to watch it again. But because it's on HBO Max, like, you can just hit play on it again and watch it as much as you want. You can watch it like 20 times. It will go away, I think, for a while. So you kind of want to jump on it while it's still available. But I don't know. We're in this weird phase now with movies where they're like, it's a theatrical release, but also a digital release.
I mean, that's how The Matrix is going to be, right? Isn't that also going to be on HBO Max day and date?
Yeah, there was, I forget which studio it was, but they said they were going to release, it might have been Sony. They said they were just, all of their movies were coming out on HBO Max this year. So I don't know if we're still in like just that list of movies that are coming out that are just going to hit HBO Max, but yeah, I don't want to say too much before you see it.
We'll do a full thing about it. Maybe, we haven't done in a while is one of our movie podcasts.
Starside Flicks. Yeah, we should bring that back for Dune.
Flicks. We could do a whole Starside Flicks about it.
Yeah, I need to watch it again, and you need to watch it, and then we need to do a full podcast about it.
For sure, yeah.
But I think we now come to your parting wisdom.
Zach, how is the heat in your apartment? We live in the Midwest, and it gets pretty cold sometimes.
I have not even turned it on yet. I could have, because it has gotten cold in here, but also like heating bills are going to be crazy this year.
Yes, heating bills are a thing that you want to avoid. A way that I have avoided them in the past is by sleeping with a heated blanket. Have you ever used one of those?
I have not, but I should get one, actually.
They're great. They're a great thing to just add to your blankets on your bed, because they do get very warm, but there's something even better than a heated blanket, Zach.
Is it a weighted blanket?
Weighted blankets are also great, and I recommend them. But a thing that I just discovered and is amazing is a heated mattress topper.
What?
So it's a thing that you put on top of your mattress. It's like a fitted sheet, because it's like you wrap it around your mattress, and it's soft, but it's also heated. So if you have, by itself it's great, but if you have a heated blanket as well, then you're getting heat from the top as well as the bottom. So you're extremely warm, like in a good way, when you go to sleep. And I don't know if they're a new thing or if they've always been around, but I saw one at Target a couple weeks ago. I was like, it's going to get pretty cold. It's going to be in like the 20s. So I'll pick this up and I'll, attach it to my bed. And I got to say, heated mattress toppers are where it's at if you're looking to not turn on your heat at night.
So you got to plug it in though, right?
Yeah, you have to plug in the top as well as the blanket. Mm. And then you can pick, there's like levels. There's really fancy ones where you can control them with like an app on your phone. They're like Bluetooth enabled. I don't have one of those. I have to like get up and like press a button with my foot, but they're still really great.
Yeah, I like to be cold when I get in bed to go to sleep. And that's
really?
Why I usually don't turn my heat on overnight. Like I will let it get cold in my apartment. I would rather be cold and try to stay warm when I go to sleep than be hot and like get.
Are you interested in those that like crazy air conditioning thing that will blow air conditioning into your sheets?
I'm not aware of that, but for the summer that sounds like it would be excellent.
It seems great. Yeah, I know. Who did I see that had one? Paul Scheer, famous actor and comedian and podcaster, got one of those, and he was like demoing it on, I think, like his Instagram or something. But it seems a little difficult to set up, but really worth it if you're into like cool sleeping.
Yeah, like I said, like I don't want to be necessarily cold, I guess, but like I don't want to be hot. Because if I like start sweating, it's very uncomfortable, and I don't like that. And I have to kick all my blankets off, and it's awful. I would much rather be cold and trying to use my blankets to stay warm than like be hot and not want to put blankets on at all. You know what I mean? So
the bed jet is what it's called.
Bed jet. That would be good to look up for summer, but I'm definitely on board with the idea of like a heated blanket or like a weighted blanket. I should get one of those for this winter.
Heated blankets are so nice. Like, a couple of years ago when I lived in a small town, I was living in a house that's very old from like the 30s, and I had never turned the heat on yet, and I didn't know if I needed to like light a pilot light or something. And I got home late from work, and it was the first really cold night that I had lived there, and I was like, I don't know if I should turn the heat on. I don't know how to turn the heat on. But I was saved by having a big heated blanket. I just wrapped myself in it and turned it up to max, and I was totally fine that night. And then I eventually figured out how to turn the heat on. But I can't say enough good things about heated blankets, especially if they get super, super hot.
I think I'm going to get one of those because it gets very cold, as you know, in the Midwest over the winter, especially in like January and February. And with the heating bills that are sure to be insane this winter season, it might be nice to just like not worry about it that much and just like use a heated blanket.
Anyway, that's my little advice is if you don't have a heated blanket, definitely check one out. If you do have a heated blanket and it's not enough, check out that heated mattress topper, because those are also super, super good.
Very useful wisdom this week. So, Anyway, follow us on all the things on Twitter at Starside Cafe and on Instagram at Starside Cafe. Check out our website, starsidecafe.com. Follow Starside Cafe on or subscribe on YouTube, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.